Now, first match, we have Zio Renak pre-ban from the right side, which tells us that it's probably going to be a relatively aggressive player, probably someone favoring like some type of Litica, probably. So obviously we're first picks. We're going to go ahead and pick up the Boss Arunka, which is going to be one of the obviously strongest picks right now. And he goes FCC and he goes for Yufine, right? Now, you might be thinking, okay, that doesn't seem like a really aggressive player, right? But what does Yufine accomplish, right? Yufine actually accomplishes in stopping Litica from going into an S2 into an S3 chain, right? So we have to be a little bit heads up about that and not, expect it to be on like a slow build for like a standard player. So I have that information now, so I'm gonna go for Luna on 2 since it's a neutral opener which doesn't care about Litica at all, right? I hold my place in line, no problem, and it gives me a book, and she's a really solid neutral opening. And then I'm gonna want to pick up mitigation here. Now I'm gonna try to go for probably Ilanav here to limit some of his DPS options. I think if you don't have Ilanav on the spot, you could try like 8 Tywin. I think 8 Tywin's pretty good. If you don't have 8 Tywin, you can probably try something like Aras on this spot, which I think is probably not bad here, but you would need to have it on protection set. Protection set is really important because obviously Arunka offers a win condition for us as an anchor, but she doesn't actually inherently give us any mitigation for the rest of the team if he has any form of AoE, right? And if I pick up the aggression here, then he already has an AoE. Well, obviously one of the strongest AoEs in the game in Yufine. That's going to really mess up my team through the AoE if I have no mitigation, right? And obviously Ilnav is pen resistant, so Yufine's trauma and stuff, it doesn't really matter, right? And exactly that's what comes out. We see the Fire Litica coming through based on these pre-bans, and everything that we just talked about in the past like minute has applied, right? Now he needs to pick something that can combo with Litica. I'm expecting maybe like a Spirit Eye Celine or like more AoE. I don't expect Politis though. Okay, so he goes Requiem Rowana. So he goes Requiem Rowana, which means he wants to go for the reset, and that's a soul burn, right? Now, in this spot, I think there's a few things you could do. You could do like Fire Politis, which would completely shut down this pick, right? He wouldn't be able to use this pick whatsoever. And I think that's probably what I'm going to go for here. I'm going to go for Fire Politis, since I know this is going to be a force ban. Otherwise, he won't be able to activate his Requiem Rowana. And now I know he wants to press, so I need to find a unit that can fight versus these top 4 units, knowing that my Politis is most likely going to be banned. And I think Laya is probably not bad, but Laya can get pushed back by this, right? So inherently it might not be that good. Perhaps something like a Last Rider Prow, LRK, maybe even New Kid Aiden for the fun. We'll go with New Kid Aiden, why not? We recently just built this New Kid Aiden character. Anytime there's a lot of AoE, I think, he has some potential. Or she, rather. She has some potential in, obviously, AoE Yufine, AoE Requiem, AoE here. So there's a lot of chances for me to actually get a proc and get going, right? And Aiden actually does a lot of damage, so don't underestimate her. And I have her on this build, in case you're wondering, 3.7, 337. Unfortunately, we don't have that many imprints, and her base stats are pretty low, but the general idea is you do want to have her on an S1 EE and have a little bit of bulk. And you go for Cesarea. I mean, like, we're banning last, right? Like, we're first pick, we drafted, we already thought about how do we find a pick on 5th with Politis to ban to fight versus 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So we're gonna ban the Cesarea here. He's gonna ban Politis. We already know that 100%. And we're gonna make sure all of our imprints are in order, and pretty much just go right ahead. Okay, so he's on Guiding Light, so something to be mindful of, and he's just gonna go for the S2. I get restricted, I counter, which is huge. And Requiem can still go for S3, obviously reset my team, but I do have Luna on the barrier from Prodset Ilanav, so I might resist this if he doesn't break my barrier, which he doesn't. As you can see right here, that's the power of having Prodset Ilanav on Aureus. So I'm really glad that I actually changed that over, otherwise I would have got reset here. And now I can actually go for a Soulburn S3 to actually seal everything, right? Now, if I seal everything, I have to be mindful that FCC can just throw it back, and I guess he FFs because he realizes he's just pretty much dead. Okay, into the second match, we see Harsetti and Luna getting pre-banned by the right side. So again, it doesn't really give us a whole lot of information. We do want to play relatively, I would like to call it humble, or just play standard, right? Pick a strong opening. Don't overcommit to playing aggressive. Don't overcommit to, you know, anything too early on, since you want to stay flexible here, which is kind of what I would define my playstyle as. Kind of like aggro flex, you know, where I can pick up the pace if they're playing too slow. I can try to adapt to whatever they're picking. And so he goes for FCC and Litica. Now, we gotta be mindful, Litica can be on Guiding Light, right? So we can never assume that it's just on like Renewed Will or Elegai Candle or things like that. So having this information, Renak is available, but if I pick Renak into FCC, it feels like I'm fighting an uphill battle since he basically has the best mitigation in the game, and he can go Zeo on 3 into me, right? So it's gonna be kind of problematic, you know, I would say. But, you know, what if we decide to go for, say, like, you know, Renak with Zeo together? You know, we could maybe explore that option. But the problem is if he's on Guiding Light, then he can pick some other units that are hidden and try to push me back, right? But just for the sake of the video, we're going to go for Renak on 2, and then we're going to go for Zeo on 3 to deny the hardest counter into me. Alternatively, if you don't have Zeo here, I think you could probably play like mitigation on 3. If you have a Renak that's fast enough. But I'm just going to pick up the Zeo just so that I don't have a hard counter into my Renak option here, or my Renak pick here. And I'm going to have to see what he wants to pick now. Because depending on what he picks on 3-4 is going to tell a lot of the story, right? Depending on the 3-4, it's going to tell us whether this is Guiding Light or if this is going to be on some type of range, like an aggressive offensive artifact, right? If you go see Phantom Politis, I think I might know who this is. This might be Cause 777 that we fought earlier. And he's really fast. He's really, really fast. So we gotta be mindful here. Sea Phantom is definitely a really aggressive option. Okay, so he decides to slow down. Okay, so he slows down here and he denies my Soul Burn. With Sea Phantom pairing means SSB is really weak, right? SSB has gotten a lot weaker, but we could do something like Blooming Litica. I think Blooming Litica has some decent potential, but this also shuts down things like Eufine, Fireflan, Seaside of Bologna, right? My DPS options are a little bit limited. He's kind of choking me, and also I can't do Successor Teiyu, right? I can't go ML Teiyu on the spot either, so overall his draft is really, really solid up to this point. So I basically could threaten to go Sharoon. I could go Sharoon here on 4 to pair with this, and then get another pick on 5 here to try to get the rest of my draft through. And I think I might go for Blooming Litica. I think that pick kind of makes sense, but I might want some AoE as well. Or I go P-Flan. P-Flan can bridge with my Zeo here, and he might have immunity on FCC and Valiant. That is very safe to assume, but because I have a bridge for Zeo, I can kind of chain the rest of my team, and I can just go for an S3 to push these two back and try to control them, right? If I can control these two, I can win the game. If I can pop these two eventually, I can win the game. My Arunka can beat this, and it can beat this in a 2v1 situation. So I know I have an anchor already in my Arunka, and I have the combination of, you know, obviously Renak and Sharoon together, right? Unbuffable, 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 unbuffable. It's going to be really bad for him. And he goes for Wanderer Silk to pick up an imprint to outspeed the Renak, which tells me he's banning Arunka, right? Because that means he doesn't care about the rest of my team. He's saying, I'm faster than you, I'm going to ban top. Which is what we should see here, I think. But we have to respect the ban on the imprint, right? We're first pick, again, we got to ban the last pick. We don't really want to like do any 50-50s, and I think some people in my streams have asked like, oh, like what's 50-50, right? 50-50 is basically like you make your picks, but then and you like pretend you're gonna basically ban this pick, but then you don't, and then you like ban something else, and that's considered like a 50-50, right? Where you're putting yourself in a position where like the ban's not a guarantee. Okay, so let's go ahead. This I think he might be 320 on both, so I might just get gapped here.
I'll show you.
Oh,
true.
Okay, we might be all right. Okay, so I'm gonna S3 onto FCC, and the reason why is because I don't want to take a counter for free, right? If I take a counter, that's free 3F proc. That's like 3k damage. I don't want that. I want to focus the mitigation as much as possible because FCC is going to be the most problematic for me in this game. Okay, that procs my Pyro Captain Flan. I'm gonna go ahead and S2. Now, obviously, a lot of my damage is mitigated because I do 7k, it goes to 3.5. I do 4k on Sharoon, I go to 2k. Right, a lot of my damage is being reduced by the FCC. But the good thing is, though, FCC is going to die here. And as long as I stick the unbuffable and push these guys back, my Pirate Captain Clan can push them even further back. And I think that will be advantageous for us. So we see Bastion of Hope on the Politas actually proc. I'm really high F on Flan, so I'm just going to go for the S3 to try to push them back. Which, in theory, I should. And I do 4k fix from Cascade now. And if he goes for the S2, he's immediately going to die to the bomb, so I'm not worried about that. And he just goes for the S3, so he doesn't die immediately. And that's fine, he pushes me back, but not the end of the world. And now Politas can put speed down, which is very annoying. And I think I'm probably just going to try to kill Poly, because I don't want to risk a counter here. Because if I risk a counter, what's going to happen is this, like, he could just like go for an S3 and then he does a bunch of chip, right? Even though this game already looks pretty won, because obviously these guys can't take a turn anymore, right? They have bombs on them. My Pirate Captain Plan is just immense value, but this all comes down to whether Belian counters or not, and he didn't. Do I hit a stun? I don't. But you see how like all these decisions added up to it, right? If I decided to Zeo S3 into this, if I decided to Zeo Renak S2 and I hit a counter, these units could have been dead on those 2 hits, right? If I did get countered. So you got to be really, really mindful when you're doing your target selection on who to go for. It's really, really important. Right? And then the game's over. And on to the next one. Alright, so into the next game here, we have Renak and Firefly being banned, and you'll notice that I'm actually banning Bossa Runka as second pick this time, just because I'm giving this a try on this episode, see if it works, see if it doesn't, you know, we'll make adjustments as needed. And he goes for FCC first pick, with Renak already banned, so something to note is, if you ever see an FCC first pick when Renak is pre-banned, you usually want to think, is this an ER player, right? It could be an FRES player, right? Because these two are really strong into ER players, and obviously she's an ER imprint, right? And Lone Wolf Para is open as a cleanser, so I do want to pick her up. And now I want to pick another knight, or just maybe a neutral pick here that, you know, won't be too threatened. And I'm gonna go with Luna.
You don't deserve my mercy.
I think in most cases, I think like you could go like, you don't have to go Luna here. You can go like Para plus mitigation or whatever. But I'm gonna go for Para and Luna. And okay, so immediately he goes Illinat Belian. What does that tell us? It tells us he's playing ER, right? Why? How do we know he's playing ER? Because this denies soul burn. This is another imprint for ER for team release. So we know this is definitely an ER gamer, right? Now that means we don't want to pick characters that are gonna be like F checking him, right? For example, like Blue Para, Emalua, right? These characters are not going to have enough effectiveness to actually tag. So in cases like this, you're typically going to want to like up the tempo and pick more damage related, more damage sources. And since he already has the Illinav, my options are a little bit limited in terms of pen options, right? So I'm going to have to try to pick stuff that's like raw damage, or I can try to go Frida on 3. I could go the Frida on 3 route, but then I'll be really low damage, so I'm gonna definitely want to pick up some damage here. And I think I'm probably just gonna pick up Closer Charles. I'm gonna go RB.
Be your opponent.
I'm just basically gonna go full damage, right? I know he's ER. I know he's slow. I'm probably just gonna try to like overwhelm him with damage and get 2 RBS3s off and try to get value that way. I can even go like Frida on last pick, which could potentially be a force ban, because then he can't do much. Okay, it's more. So I go more last pick here, so he can't counter on these 3 units. It's a force ban, and I have to get myself a really good last pick here. Or not last pick, sorry. I think I have to ban a Miki, right? Let me think for a second. No, I have to gamble. I have to ban this. Because I have Closer Charles on my team, I have to gamble that. I have to gamble. Because I have Closer Charles on my team, if I S3, this gets 40 CR, and then I can't cut, right? So I have to kind of gamble that this Amiki doesn't just 1v9 me. I might get 1v9, and it'll be what it is. It is what it is, right? I'll have Rampage. I'm relatively tanky. I could go for S2 Chip. I don't think S3 is that great, but I also don't want to get attacked down, right? But I won't get one shot, so I'll go for S2 here on Yuffie since it most likely doesn't have any effect resistance. Okay, so I didn't land. Unfortunate. We're gonna S3. Now I am gonna have Swift Boots with Rampage, so my team might be able to cycle. Try to go for defense break on Yuffie again. So we didn't get it. It might be ER Yuffie. If it's ER Yuffie, I mean this guy's just way better, man. This guy might just be better. I might be dead though. We S3, I missed. I did not gap, unfortunate. S3. I get countered by the Amiki, and I should die here. So I can get another turn right away. I go for the S1 to break the mid. Get the mitigation out of the game as soon as possible. I did not gab again, that sucks. I'm gonna have the S3 here. And hope I don't get countered. There's an Elbrus, that sucks.
I won't go easy, even on you.
I don't want to risk getting countered, so I'll just press S3.
I'm not your sister.
But I'm pretty sure I won't tag, right? I mean, this is clearly an FRES gamer. If I gabbed, I would have killed. If I gabbed, I would have done way more damage to kill, right? And then this would have been a Miki 1v4. So a little bit unlucky that my RB didn't gab here, but still winnable, I guess. Miss? Oh, that's a huge miss. Wow, I feel like that's really greedy. Because the miss means he doesn't get the proc damage. Wow, that is really, really greedy. Holy crap. That was insanely greedy. I can't believe he did that. That was like a game-losing play. Holy shit. S2 on Velian. Hopefully he doesn't Elbrus. Okay, his Velian is still alive somehow. Holy crap. Gotta kill the Yuffie, I guess. Oh man, I feel like I might have made a misplay there. I thought I would have been able to kill 2 with Luna, but... Oh man, that sucks.
I'll be your opponent.
If Amiki doesn't counter here, I think I win. Oh shit. Okay, S3 since this can't be countered. Come on, baby. Come on. Closer, Charles. You have evasion. We got it. We got it. Amiki can uh-oh. Tank it. Tank it, tank it, tank it, tank it, tank it. Nice. Okay, we win the game. Nice. Very good, very good. Even though I think we made a slight misplay, we had a really good read on the draft, so we won the game, so that was good. Alright, on to the next one.
I merely removed another obstacle.
Alrighty, so into the next match, we see Boss Sarunka and Harseti getting pre-banned. Really nothing to... Can't really get much info out of that, honestly. I could go Renac first if I want, but then they can go like FCC Ilanav, so not a great spot for me to play, so I'm going to go ahead and pick up the FCC. That way, if he decides to go Renac Ilanav, then I can play accordingly, right? I can pick like Luna, I can pick whatever, right? I want to stay flexible. I don't want to be too overcommitted, especially with Zeo open as well, right? When you go Renac too early and they have Zeo available, it is... Like, imagine they get... Like, you have Renac, they have FCC, Ilanav, Zeo, 1-2. And it's like... That's really hard to break through, right? So, this guy actually decides to pick up the Renac and the Zeo. So, what I'm actually going to do here is... I'm going to go ahead and pick up ML Luna here. Since it's a good anti-cleave option, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up ML Ilanav on 3 here. And the reason why I'm doing it in my draft like this, you might be thinking, okay, we have double mid, right? We have FCC and we have Ilanav. But more often than not, anyone that's playing Renac, and if you're planning on playing versus a Renac draft, they are 99.99% banning FCC during the post-ban phase, right? Because FCC just mitigates way too much damage, right? So I'm securing myself another a mitigation knight here. But the other thing that's really important is that a lot of the units that pair with Zeo, Blooming Litica, Eternal Wanderer Ludwig, Requiem Roana, right? They all penetrate, right? So she mitigates a lot of damage here. And so he goes for MLTU plus C Phantom Politis on these 2 picks. So one unit that's going to stop his entire team is Elvira, right? Elvira means he cannot gain fighting spirit. So Elvira immediately puts this game into a force ban, right? Now, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, how do I find a character on 5 that can let me win the game, okay? Spatial Sonic says Holiday Euphine. I'll tell you why you can't go Holiday Euphine. Holiday Euphine means only if they have 2 pushbacks, right? If they have Zio and Polly, then you can go Euphine, right? But if they have double, it gets overloaded, so you cannot go Holiday Euphine. The pick I'm thinking right now is probably a Miki, okay? I'm thinking a Miki here, and I hope this works. I'm gonna go with a Miki.
Think you can handle this?
And the reason why I'm going with a Miki here is because, like I said, I can't go Holiday Euphine, I can't go Abyssal Euphine, I can't go Fire Politis because he has too many pushbacks to enable the Teiyu, right? So if I know that this Elvira is going to get banned, I just have to ban last and let my Amiki win this, right? And even in saying so, like there is still a really good chance that my Amiki will potentially lose. And because I need to make sure my Amiki resists, since he's most likely going to Soulburn S3 something, I'm going to put Release Imprint on the ER so that my Amiki is like closer to 200 ER here to give me as high of a chance as possible. I could still get tagged by Sea Phantom Politis, but that's just a loose condition I have to live with. Ooh, Murkadashi. This guy was in my tournament. Okay. So we see S3 goes. I will send a heart back. Alright, best of luck to him. So I guess his S3 would go onto Luna to break my skill effect nullifier. Oh, he doesn't. Okay, so he's just gonna straight up rip. Okay. So he doesn't burn this. Oh, wait. What he could do is he could actually go for my Miki.
That desperate to believe.
If he goes for a Miki and then burn Renak, ooh, I might be dead. I might be dead.
Is that all
Unless my Miki somehow tanks this, which he's not. Huge counter, but it's not gonna matter. Does this dispel all buffs? Oh no, I'm dead. Yeah, I think I might be dead. I might be dead. We'll see. I'll still play it out though, because I still have Luna available, right? I can just go for Soulburn S3. I might still be able to play this spot. I'm not sure. But I'll try. Alright, we're going to Soulburn S3 here to unbuffable everything and seal. That way Sea Phantom Politis can't get rage and dual attack, right? Obviously she can still push me back, which would be like really annoying. But I saw that Renak's only 8k HP, right? So I know he's pretty squishy, so FCC S3 should be able to do a sizable amount of damage even with the speed down. So that's what I'm kind of banking for here. And I can throw speed down as well from FCC, right? So I'm going to do that.
I'll make sure you feel the pain of losing everything.
Okay, so we speed down now. That's huge for me. Now this is all about Luna. If my Luna can clutch this, it'll be very nice. And this is one of those games where I wish I did have Destruction Illinak, but, you know, what can you do? Hey, 9k HP. I need to get this Renak out of the game. If this Renak lives, I'm really screwed. Because he can get another cycle, right? So I'm going to throw everything I have at it. This Teiyu can't get attack buff, but he might still be able to kill me through mitigation. Maybe. I hope not, though. My Luna is kind of tanky, but kind of have to hope he doesn't. Yeah, I tanked it. Nice. Okay. So I'm going to Soulburn S1 the Politis. No, Soulburn S1... Okay, Soulburn S1 the Zio, so he can't double hit into my Luna. And then I can go for... I can go for S1 since he's death broken, and then my S2 on the next rotation should finish 2 for 1.
Take my hand.
I'm gonna lap this Teiyu, right? And then the game should be over. Very nice, I'm holding. I'm holding. And then Luna wins the game. GG. Ooh! Very close, very close. GG's. Alright, so as per usual, we are going to be breaking down our games, as a lot of people have been liking the draft analysis we've been doing since episode 6, I think. So here in the first game, obviously I'm first pick. I have Irunka, and he goes FCC and Euphine. And like I said, right, we have to always pay attention to the pre-bans, right? The pre-bans, whenever you're playing anyone, always tells a lot of the story, right? If it's a Zio pre-ban, it's an aggro player. If it's a Renak pre-ban, it's probably a Lidica player. If they are picking FCC with the Renak pre-ban, you know it's a Lidica player for sure. If there is a you know, that's that, right? And then so I go for Luna as a neutral pick, Illinev as mitigation to guarantee my mitigation so I can survive the AoE. And then he does pull up the Lidica Requiem Roana, so I'm like, okay, I have to find a way to stop this chain, right? Politis is a force ban, I bring an AoE through, and we win the game. And then here, he goes for Luna Harsetti pre-ban. Again, kind of standard pre-bans, doesn't give us a whole lot of information, so we have to play relatively standard. So we go for Arunka first pick, he goes FCC Lidica, I go Renac Zeo to pick up tempo, he goes Belling to deny my soul burn, and then he goes Politis as 2 units that are going to be stealth, so that my Zeo can't target, right? And I went with Sharoon to give myself a Renac combo, I go for a bridge with Zeo, so I have 2 ways to kill him, and then I ban last, right? First pick advantage. And then this game, he goes for FCC. Again, I saw Renac and Flan prebans. Tells us really high ER player, most likely, right? Another common preban for an ER player is going to be Frida. So if you see one of those 3 prebans come through, you know it's going to be ER player, especially if they pick up FCC when Renac is banned. Then I go for Peyra Luna for a neutral opening, and then I get a cleanser, I get burn, I can tempo up if I need to, I can pivot if I need to. He goes Illinev and Bellion. It confirms my suspicions of a ER player, so immediately I pick damage, right? I need to just go raw damage. I go closer and I go RB. Albeit he did misplay this game by going a Miki S3 into my Peyra, but I don't know. Maybe I mind control and NTR'd him. I don't know. Mind break? I don't know. Last game, you guys saw what happened, right? So obviously Alvira is a force ban versus the Teiyu on 3. I get the Amiki through, and he can basically take me out immediately. But he had to commit so much of his damage to kill my Amiki that my other 3 units were able to flourish, right? And we saw that happen. And yeah, that's gonna be it for episode number 8. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in episode number 9. And once again, make sure you guys catch all the tournament highlights that'll be coming out throughout the week. And yeah, see you guys later. Bye.